What's good in the hood, YouTube? This is Crazy Samurai 71 here bringing you another video. Today I'm bringing you a video on Power Rangers. This is regarding the 26th season of Power Rangers. This season is going to be called Power Rangers Beast Morphers. And for those that are wondering what this is, it's a season that's going to be based off of the Japanese season called Tokimei Sentai Go Busters. Now, many people were suspecting, because of the name, that it would be based off of Zyuohger, the season that happens after Ninja Steel, the Japanese equivalent to Ninja Steel, which is Tobutsu Sentai Zyuohger. That's not happening, sadly, which would have made more sense. But for some reason, they're going back to Go Busters, which is a season that's from 6 years ago, that was between Super Mega Force and Dino Charge Japanese seasons. So the Japanese seasons for them were Kaizuku Sentai Go Kaiger and Juden Sentai Kyuroger, which is definitely a different way of doing things because a lot of those costumes are older. So this was announced today at Toy Fair. For those who do not know, Toy Fair is a major convention expo that's for the press primarily, where a lot of people from the press get to speak to toy vendors that are trying to show off new products for the year. It could be all sorts of major companies, whether it be Funko, Hasbro, NECA Toys, Tamashii Nation, you name it. All sorts of different companies tend to be at this to show off new products that are coming out, talk about new brands and IPs that are coming to them, and it's a good opportunity to see new product in general. So Hasbro, as of yesterday, confirmed that they are taking over for Power Rangers master license for toys, which means that they will hold the keys to the Power Rangers toy license, meaning that they will be releasing the new toys in 2019. So they got to announce this season's name, and I'll say this much right now, I'm not the biggest fan of the name at all. I really don't like the name. I really wish that they had gone for a different name and just in general chose to just say, like, Go Buster happened, let's move on. I'm not against this, don't get me wrong. I'm very curious to see what they're going to do with this season because it's such an old season and one that most people pretty much rid off at this point because it's been so much time. But I'm not against seeing what happens with this season. Of course, what this also means, because it's an older season, the suits for the monsters especially, but also the Rangers, will probably be pretty worn out and damaged. I don't know how good the material is. Of course, because these are newer seasons and the material that they probably use is better than what it used to be, you know, some of the suits might actually be in better condition because of where things are today. But I wouldn't hold my breath on that either. So we'll have to see how that works with Ranger footage and original footage in general, because I don't know how easily they'll be able to do a lot of stuff because of how much time has passed. And this also brings up the question, could ToQger get adapted, the season that happens between the Japanese equivalent of Ninja Steel and Power Rangers Dino Charge / Dino Supercharge? You know, is that season going to be adapted, the train season? Maybe. Because of this brings up the idea that it could happen. Like, it's not out of the question anymore. So definitely an interesting thing to look into. I'm very curious about this. So we have the logo. Personally, looking at it, I think it's all right. It does remind me a lot of the Transformers Beast Machines logo. If you've ever seen that logo, it's kind of similar. As far as the Beast Morphers part, look at that and look at Beast Machines part, kind of similar. So we also got the synopsis for this season, and it says, set in the future, a secret agency combines a newly discovered substance called Morph X with animal DNA to create Power Rangers Beast Morphers team. The Rangers must fight off an evil sentient computer virus bent on taking over the source of all Ranger power, the Morphin Grid itself, featuring never-before-seen leather suits and an all-new Beast-themed arsenal, including dynamic new Zords. Fans should get ready for a season full of secret ops and more phenomenal fun. So what this tells me is, first of all, they are including the Morphin Grid, which is interesting because usually they don't incorporate that. Usually they would create some original idea rather than something that's so important to the overall franchise itself, the Morphin Grid, which I'm curious about because that brings up the question, will they bring back past actors? Because, you know, something like this sounds like they would go for that kind of way of doing things. Doesn't mean it will happen. We'll have to wait and see. But it's definitely a possibility. What other thing I can note from this is Morph X sounds interesting. I'm very curious about that. They also mention, let's see here, what else is there? Evil sentient computer virus. That reminds me of Venjix. If you remember Venjix from Power Rangers RPM, you know, that's a thing that it sort of sounds like in a way. Not exactly, but it has some similarities. So that's something. And just in general, the secret ops aspect of the show does sound pretty accurate to what Go Busters was all based around. So that is interesting. But again, not my favorite choice of name. I really wish they had gone for something else. As far as the super season goes, I doubt it. Personally, what I think this might mean is that we will probably be getting one season per iteration now. Don't hold me to that, but I would expect it personally, and that could be okay, because what they might do is they might have it where 2019 would be based off of this. Then in 2020, they would do a season based off of ToQger, which in Japan, which would be the season that was between Ninja and Kiro-Oger, which in America was Dino Supercharge or Dino Charge and Ninja Steel. So keep that in mind. They might do that, and then they would move on to Zyuohger, and then if they keep going, they would go to Q Ranger, Lupin Ranger versus Power Ranger, and then so on and so forth. Meaning that they would go back to the one season situation, and it could be very interesting. Now, don't hold me to that, but it is a thought that does sound like a possibility because of the fact that they're going back so far. If they didn't do this, then I would not be saying that at all. I would be saying, don't expect this. But it is a possibility now. It sounds like, you know, it's not something that they wouldn't do. You know, if they're going back this far, they're probably more than willing to go back to ToQger. So keep that in mind. If you're hoping for it, or whether you're not hoping for it, it's a possibility, and we'll have to wait and see how that all works out. But definitely interesting. I would love to know your guys' opinions. Do you guys think that this sounds like a good idea, that they're going back to such a far back season? Maybe we were expecting, because the season was called Beast Morphers, that it was going to be based off of Zyuohger, which is an animal-based season that was the season that comes after the Japanese equivalent to Ninja Steel, which is Zyuohger, and that isn't going to be the case. People were thinking that this is that. It's not, so keep that in mind. If you were expecting it to be that way, it's not. Personally, I would have liked that better, in my opinion, just because it's more recent. But honestly, what I would have preferred overall would have been Q Ranger, just because it's been such a great season. People love it, and the merchandising is such an amazing thing that they could do so much with Q Ranger. So keep that in mind. I'm not against this, but I definitely think that they could do this in 1 year, because there's not a lot of merchandise for this season. There's mainly just the main 5 Zords for each of the 5 Rangers for this season, and then there's like maybe one extra Zord, and then there's like a movie Zord if you include that one as well. You know, there's only like 7 Zords in total, I think, which is really not a lot. And, you know, 3 of them are going to be introduced when the season comes out, because they're going to make up the main Megazord. And then the other 2 will likely be released sometime in the fall, with the 6th Zord coming shortly after that, I would imagine. So, like, in other words, there's nothing that's holding them back from doing this all in 1 year, because it's not a big season, you know? It's not really that big of a season for them to do as far as mechas go. As far as story goes, we don't know. We don't know how many episodes there'll be. They might do 2 seasons. I don't want that to happen, but we'll have to wait and see. Up in the air right now as to how the whole situation will work. So again, love to know your guys' opinions. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you guys think about this new logo, about this new season in general, what your expectations are. Do you think we're going back to one season? You know, all that information and more. Please leave it in the comments below. I'll see you guys in the next video. And that's about it for me, guys. So until then, guys, I'm Crazy Samurai 71, and goodbye, guys.